imagine. This would be Tuesday, September 15th, as we go through and take a look at poetry stuff. Information for you. Heroes Pizza Party coming up on Friday. Goes until 6:30. Make sure you get your stuff turned in by Thursday. We get house points because we're awesome. Spirit Game also coming up on Thursday. Starts at 5:30. We get house points for that one too. And all kinds of exciting stuff happens with it. For those of you who are home dead. Those of you who are home, we have the bell work. So you're going to go ahead and write this down, and then we'll go to the next screen, and you're going to pause it. Follow along and help you out from there. Boo. I said boo. Here's the information for you for the bell work. You had to write this sentence down. Of course, those of you who are within stick swinging distance, what is in the very top left corner of this piece of paper?
Date.
Date. Top middle?
Date.
Title.
The title.
Make sure you have the date and title there, because if I were to see you, then of course poking would happen with the sharp pointing of the stick. And you are going to have to write this sentence. Let's make sure we can see it. Focus. Write that sentence where it says, "The hungry little caterpillar bravely ignored the rain." Then you have to label each word in there as either being noun, verb, adjective, so on and so forth. Then draw arrows from the adjectives to the noun. Then circle the word that the adverb is describing. To help you out, here you're going to pause at this point because there's information up yonder that'll tell you how many nouns and verbs and adjectives there are. So write this down. Go ahead and you're going to hit pause, do the bell work, and then come back and we'll continue to help you out. Welcome back. All right, so we'll go through from there. We're going to take a volunteer. If no volunteers, then I get to randomly be mean and pick on a person to go through, and you're going to tell us the 10 things you had to do. You had to label 6 words, then you had to tell me what the verb was, then the adjectives, then the adverb. And yes, your choices will impact the class, but if you can do it with only 1 mistake or less, you do earn yourself a shiny monkey treat, demonstrating your knowledge of virology. Do we have anyone to volunteer, or do I get to pick on a person? It takes the bravery. Now, if it helps, we're going to be doing these every week, and you only get to do it 1 time, because then once you've done it, you don't get to do it again, and they do get harder as the year goes along. So sometimes it helps to volunteer for the early ones as opposed to the later ones. Is that you, Zach? Yeah. Since you're already standing, you might as well. You can be standing and have a monkey treat. What a happy day. All right. So those of you who have your papers, here is where you are going to make sure you have done it correctly. Fix the things that are wrong. If you have a word labeled the wrong way, fix-imicate it. If you have nothing at all, because you're that special child, and you're like, I've done nothing, fix-imicate it. So change it so that it is correct. All right. Zach! Are you ready?
Yeah.
Good. Me too. We're going to start off with you going through and telling us the different things. We'll do nouns first. And for the nouns, do we have any nouns?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll start now.
Caterpillar and rain.
What was the first one?
Caterpillar
And?
What's a
and
caterpillar?
rain.
Works for me. All right, I said, good job, caterpillar and rain. 2 of the 10 down. Pronouns.
Little.
So I said little's a pronoun. Zach, that's incorrect. Oh wait, on your paper, right, Zach at the top, because we have to keep track of who's done it. So this is Zach's, this way you can try and volunteer for another one or torture him. Alright. Remember Zach, what are pronouns? He, she, it, they, to replace a noun, stuff like that. Do we have any pronouns in there?
No.
You can't volunteer. Zach still gets to go. He still has a chance to win the monkey treat. That's 1 mistake. The next mistake, monkey treat is off the table. All right, so no pronouns. Let's go to verbs. Any verbs?
Little.
Little. So you say little's a verb? They all seem to disagree with you. They say little. Why are you disagreeing with him, Aaron?
Because little is an adjective,
He says little is an adjective.
not a verb.
He says it's not a verb, it's a describing word. But that's up to you. You can ignore him.
It's ignored.
Oh, you're going with ignored?
Yeah.
That sounds like a bold move, but apparently the correct one. Okay. Now, we have 2 adjectives.
Okay. Hungry and little.
You sure you want to do little? We've had bad luck with it so far. So you're saying, let's do one at a time. What's your first one?
Hungry.
Hungry? Aaron, you're calling him a liar on hungry? Hungry is not an adjective.
Yes, it is.
So hungry. So, okay. And what's the next one?
Little.
Little. Okay, apparently you're right on that one.
Okay, good.
Adverbs.
Bravely.
Nope,
Apparently you're
nope.
correct there too. Nicely done. And well, that's all of them. Good job. But you're not done yet. Don't get too excited. We still have a chance. I know. We still have a chance to rob you of this. Now you have to tell me for the verb, is it action or boring? Remember, boring is the same as linking, which would be the is, was, were, that thing from that list. So it is our, what's our verb?
Action.
Well, I was going to say it. Ignored. Actually, ignored. That's fine. And then you're going to say, is it action or is it boring?
It's action.
You say action. You calling it? Apparently you're correct. Good job. Then, so close. Adjectives. We have two of them. If you'll tell me what noun they're describing.
The calculator.
So, hungry describes.
The calculator.
Little describes.
The calculator.
All right. We're down to one thing left. Our adverb bravely has to modify a verb, an adjective, or an adverb. So, what word is bravely modifying? What is the adjective, adverb, or verb it is modifying? What is being done bravely?
The rain.
So you're saying it
Ignored.
So which one?
Ignored.
You're gonna go with ignored?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yes.
This is for the mint?
Yes.
You say?
Yes.
That's correct.
Are there any more monkey treats?
Next week?
Aww.
Nicely done. If you had wrong answers, fix them, because it's getting ready to disappear. On the quiz on Thursday and Friday, you're gonna have questions from this. So it's gonna refer back to it. And you're like, but I didn't write anything down. Then you're slow. Go you. Hopefully you have something written on there. Then, if you do, and you're good at this, you can go ahead and take the notebook and put it away, because we're done with that. This is where your notability comes in. And we're going to take a look at the handout you guys had before that had 1 to 7 on it. Go back to that handout, the poetry handout, the 1 to 7. We're going to take a look at our next poem. It is going to be one that's to the right of it, called Caterpillar. Hiccups. Ready to bail? You know what today is? The day we don't go. Really? That's all it takes for you guys to O? You guys have such a low O standard. Maybe next week or the week after we'll start the 25th. I was supposed to go this week, but we already have our books, and so Thursday, if people want to go, you just got to talk to me and I'll see what we can do. Okay. Back to your caterpillar scene. That's a good point. We do have things to talk about first. Jumper! Last week we talked about 1 to 7 has somewhat to say. We mentioned these things called stanzas. You remember what a stanza is? Close! Not just a part of a poem, a specific type of part of a poem that also begins with a P. You're right, it does end in an paragraph. Now we have to just put that together. We're just going to come up with something. Hey, good job! It's a paragraph in a poem. By the way, those of you using Notability, if you have the righty function, you can write on there, because I'm going to be asking you this question a lot. Is it going to be on the quiz? Hence by saying, I'm going to be asking you this question a lot. So these things, if you're not sure and you're afraid you're not going to remember, write it down. And that way, if it's in your Notability, when it comes time for a quiz, you'd be like, oh, I just wrote down here, stanza is a paragraph in a poem. Then you're welcome to use it. If you just wrote down, I drew a picture of a bird, then you're out of luck. So hopefully that helps you. Let's see, so that. Luke! That is a good point. I'd forgotten about that. The idea that with stanzas, we can't use indentations, and we also can't use the punctuation to know when they end. So what do we have to use to know when one stanza ends and the next one begins?
Indent?
Are you asking me?
No.
No, what is it?
Indent.
Not an indent. You already said we can't use that. That's a good try. If only we could look at the caterpillar poem. Maybe the knowledge would go from the poem into our brain to look at that and know how is it we could tell where one stanza was ending and the next one was beginning. I'm still calling on you, Luke. I'm not done. Luke again.
There's a space between.
Nicely done, Luke. See, I knew you were just lying the first time. Go you. The big space that's going to be in between them as you go through and take a look at it. Hater. That is a good point. We should figure out how many stanzas we have in the poem Caterpillar. So Hater, how many stanzas we have in the poem Caterpillar?
6.
expert counting skills. So we're going to take a look at the 6 stanzas we have in our poem Caterpillar. I had forgotten about that, Jeremy. Thank you for bringing it up. We talked about alliteration way back at the beginning of the year when you guys had to interview someone and you had to stand up and give a speech about them and you had to write an alliteration about them using their name. But I've forgotten what an alliteration is. Well, luckily Jeremy was going to point out. Jeremy, what's an alliteration when you use their name?
When you keep the same letter going at every single beginning of the word.
That's why you brought it up. Good job, Jeremy. Nicely done. When you repeat the same sound over and over again as you go through and do a poem. And so, yes, you are correct. We are going to find an example of alliteration in this poem. I would recommend highlighting it or something when you find it in there because it'll make your life much easier, but that'll be up to you. We also did talk about a speaker in a poem last week when we were going through and talking about the different things. And Andrew, with our speaker in the poem, 1 of the 7 has somewhat to say. Who was the speaker in the poem, 1 of the 7 has somewhat to say?
Grumpy.
Grumpy, which tells us who the speaker was. The problem is, my next question is, what is a speaker? If we're trying to figure out what a speaker is, what would be the best definition of a speaker in a poem? Zach? I respect
Say
your
that
bravery.
question again?
What is a speaker in a poem?
The person who's like telling the poem.
Nicely done. Main character in the poem who is telling us what's going on. So that's why we found out it was Grumpy. This poem we're going to do today has the speaker in it also. And you're going to have to figure out who the speaker is that's talking to us in the poem. Let's see. So we did that. We did that. We should be good from there. Alright. So I'm going to have one of you guys read the first stanza to us. Then I'm going to read the first stanza. Then we're going to find our example of alliteration in there. And then we're going to figure out who the speaker is in there. And then we're going to define some words. And then, here's the scary part, we're going to attempt to use brains to figure out stuff that's going on in the poem.
That's scary.
I know, Mr. Brovicast, I'm already unarmed. I know, it's okay, we're going to try and help you out. Thank you, Adam, for volunteering to read. I appreciate that. So go ahead and read that in your strongest, I love weird poems kind of voice. And then I'll read it and then we'll break it down.
Under this loop of honeysuckle, a creeping colored caterpillar, I gnaw the fresh green haythorn spray. I nibble it leaf by leaf away.
Such a melodic voice. Good job, Adam. Nailed it. Under this loop of honeysuckle, a creeping colored caterpillar, I gnaw the fresh green hawthorn spray. I nibble it leaf by leaf away. Well, first off, we should probably go ahead and get that alliteration out of the way so we can figure out where it is and sort of help us out from there. Hang on. To there, no. Channel! So we'll pick on channel. By the way, me calling on you is a hint to the alliteration. Channel, can you find the alliteration in that stanza?
Yeah.
Me too, good job.
A creepy colored caterpillar.
Nicely done! Now, any idea why calling on you was a hint? Oh, my God. Good job. And so that would be our example of alliteration. So if you did not have that marked as your alliteration, I would recommend you do so now. And you can just put that alliteration. Or completely ignore me. I am old and don't know what I'm talking about. Plus, there's words in there we have to figure out. The first one, gnaw. Cole, do you know what it means to gnaw on something? When it says, I gnaw the fresh green hawthorn spray.
Chew.
Nice. Like my pre-textured writing utensils. It means to chew upon it or something along those lines. Let's see. Other thing. Ooh. Honeysuckle. Can we figure out what do you guys know what honeysuckle is?
I do.
Aaron?
It's a kind of flower, and if you like tear off the bottom and pull a certain one of the strings or
Things.
whatever,
Yes.
and like you can like hold your mouth under it and it'll drop a little drop of honey.
What we have, honeysuckle, is a type of planty thing. And it's got these little flower blossom things. And they're yellow, and he's correct. You can pluck them off, and there's little parts you pull off of it, and it drops out a little bit of nectar, whatever's on the inside of it, and it tastes like honey. It's not actual honey. It's the magic of nature. But you can put it on there, and you can go like, ah, and you can lick it, and like, ooh, it tastes like honey. Obviously, whoever named it was a genius. Because they were like naming different things, like, Bob, what are you doing? He's like, sucking on that, it tastes like honey. Like, what are you going to call it? Honeysuckle. Like, nailed it, Bob, you're a genius. So it's called honeysuckle, because you suck on it and it tastes like honey. Ooh, now's where the thinking comes in. Young, thank you for volunteering for thinking. I'm proud of you. Do you know what hawthorn spray is?
No idea.
Perfect. That's
Kind of
exactly the
spray.
answer I wanted. So we're going to show us, because if I ask you a question like that, and you're like, no, then we're going to help you out by figuring evidence in there. So I'm glad you don't know. It makes my game much more fun. We have to figure out what hawthorn spray is. So you're going to use evidence in the poem to figure out what hawthorn spray is. So, first off, you can figure out what color it is.
Yellow.
Green. Don't steal her answer. I have faith in her. Green. She knows what colors are. They're like cars, but different. Then,
It's fresh.
it is a fresh green. Fresh tells us something about it. The fresh is not describing green. The fresh is describing the hawthorn spring. So what kind of things can be fresh?
What?
What kind of things can be fresh? Can chairs be
Spray.
good? I think that can chairs be fresh?
What?
What kind of things in the world can be fresh? Can chairs be fresh?
If they're a fresh color.
On the right track.
Keep
I usually go no.
fresh.
You can think of things that if you
Do you
go.
mean like alive things?
Yes, that's what I'm going for. Good job. What kind of alive things would be fresh?
Plants.
Nice. Well, works for me. You're on the right track. Now, our caterpillar does something to it. What does our caterpillar do to it? Nicely done. And back to Cole, what does gnaw mean?
True.
Teamwork so far. So, it's a green thing that is fresh, and you said it kind of means it grows, and the caterpillar gnaws on it. Combining all this information, throw out a guess. What is hawthorn spray? A type of car. Spaceship. Why not a spaceship?
Transportation?
Caterpillars can't know.
Yes! Nicely done. I'm so proud of you. What is it the caterpillars gnaw on? Good job. I mean, what is a spray? Have you ever seen a caterpillar?
Yes.
What do they eat?
Plants.
So what do you think this is?
A
You just demonstrated genius thinking. Nicely done. Just like that. That's what I want you to do. Figure out, Mr. Brovicast, it's green, it's fresh, a caterpillar eats it. Plant? Nailed it. Just like that. Just have faith in using the examples in the poem. Don't worry. You're done, but we're not done yet. But I'll come back and pick on you more in a moment. Grider, you're right. We are to the point where we have to figure out who the speaker in the poem is. And so far, who is our speaker in the poem?
The caterpillar?
Wait! How would you know that, Grider? All it says is I.
Because I is describing him.
What is it the I does in the poem?
Nibbles the hawthorn spray.
And so, using her information, what is it we're figuring out the I is? A
Caterpillar.
go grinder. And so we have a little caterpillar that's in there. Once again, using the information in the poem. But the problem, Grizzly, is that our caterpillar is not a boring caterpillar. He's an action caterpillar, because I'm not going to give you a boring caterpillar poem. That's ridiculous. It's an action caterpillar. And our caterpillar is doing action the entire time. What action is our caterpillar doing?
Eating
Chewing.
the fresh.
Don't you steal her answer. She's going to stab you. That's right. You put him in his place. What's our caterpillar doing?
Gnawing on fresh green hawthorn spray.
And what does gnawing mean?
To chew.
Works for me. Wait, and if a caterpillar's chewing it, what's the caterpillar doing to it?
Eating it.
Nicely done. Don't act like I'm an idiot. We all know I am. It's okay. Good job. The nom 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 nom. The caterpillar is eating it. Look at that. So much learning in the first stanza. It was exciting. The only more fun than that, of course, is another stanza. I felt the same way. So much more learning to come. Inman, thanks for volunteering. Now I'll have you read it in as equally a beautiful voice as Adam. I know, it's going to be hard to match that. Then I'll read it. Then, here's what we have to figure out. Once again, who's the speaker? Continuing in this one. 2, there's a danger in Caterpillar Land. Figure out the danger in Caterpillar Land. And then 3, figure out the words that you're not going to know. You're going to have to try and use clues, because I'm going to torture you in a moment. Inman.
Down beneath grow dandelions, daisies, old man's looking glasses, rooks flap croaking across the lane. I eat and swallow and eat again.
Nicely done. Down beneath grow dandelions, daisies, old man's looking glasses, rooks flap croaking across the lane. I eat and swallow and eat again. Okay. The last word, why do I pronounce it as again? And it's not because I'm a fancy British lad, although sometimes I like to pretend it. But there's an actual reason for it. Hater,
Some gnawing.
with,
Lane.
nicely done. For the rhyme scheme, which we'll get to coming up, the idea of how rhyme scheme works, but because you have lane, then that's supposed to rhyme. Gesundheit. Again, you have to rhyme. If the lines were reversed and it said, I eat and swallow and eat again, rooks flap croaking across the
Land.
Lin. because it'd have to rhyme with again. So you have not Lane, but
Lynn.
Lynn. That doesn't make sense. I know, it's just kind of weird. Poetry.
Poetry is like the thing.
Back to here. Dandelions. Let's jump to the April. Hi. Morning. Do you know what a dandelion is? What's a dandelion?
A
Is it-
weed.
Don't you attack her. She thinks they're very pretty. Have you seen a dandelion before? What do they look like?
Have like buzz
Works for me. And are they good things or bad things?
or
You're asking me. I'm asking you.
good?
Okay. You say good. Adam apparently is excited about flowers. Adam?
Bad.
Why you say
Because they're weeds and they kill your other good plants.
Apparently Adam hates them. It's okay.
And they
April,
spread
you
very
keep on
fast.
loving dandelions. You don't let him stop you. But yeah, that's what a dandelion looks like. It's the little yellow fluffy thing. And apparently, I didn't realize this blew some kids' minds, but this is the same as this. They go from this to this. I did that one year, and a kid was like, "What? No!" It was like I destroyed his whole world. So at this point,
I didn't know that until
What
last year.
is
I was
that?
like, what is that?
so when they're ready to bloom, they turn into this, and then you go, and little seeds go everywhere,
Or you can
and that
eat
makes
it.
more baby dandelions. And then that's why when
I
you do
hate
that
those
in your neighbor's
things.
yard, and you go, and they go everywhere, he kicks open the door with a shotgun. He's like, "Oh my!"
I like to eat those.
And it makes him all upset. Andrew,
I say they're good because they make people's wishes come true.
and they make.
Really don't.
Apparently,
Childhood lie.
apparently his wish was for you to lose points by turning around talking. Wish granted. Radabelle.
You can actually eat dandelions, so technically they're good.
Yeah. Technically, you can eat anything.
Have you
so
ate
be
them?
careful.
They're bitter.
You're gonna have poison.
There could be bugs on there, and then you could eat a bug.
And that's poison.
Don't stop her. You let her commit to her choices. No one needs B points. Nothing bad happens when you run. You're right. We should keep going. I agree. So we have dandelions, which would be the little things that are growing down there. Then Tommy, daisies. Do you know what a daisy is?
It's a yellow flower.
Works for me. Partly yellow, partly another color.
Orange.
Close.
Excellent.
It's like orange, but more whitish. Which would be what color? Getting closer, that would be more whitish. You're going to get to?
White.
Hey, good job. It's like it just came to you. That was weird. The daisy. It has the yellow middle, and then it has little white things that come off around it. That's the picture of a daisy. That's ones where the people are like, he loves me not. He loves me. That's the little flower that they go through and pluck it. Now, here's where it's going to get scary because thinking is going to be involved. I don't know. Okay. The next part where it says old man's looking glasses, we have to figure out what it's a reference to. Here's my hint to you. The poem goes, down beneath grow dandelions, daisies, old man's looking glasses. Using our evidence in the poem, what are old man's looking glasses going to be an example of? Pharrell?
I'm guessing the owner of the yard.
The owner of the yard. Absolutely incorrect. But a good try. That's a bold move. Here's my hint to you. It says down beneath grow, and now it's giving you a list of things that grow. Dandelions, daisies, things that grow. So what is old man's looking glass is going to be a reference to? Jumper?
Type of flower.
Nicely done. Type of flower. It's like me saying, I'm going to list for you types of food. Sandwiches, pizza, desk. It doesn't work that way. Like, that last one doesn't make sense. Exactly. That's why old man's looking glasses is not a reference to glasses at all. It's just a type of flower. And so they're just listing all these types of flowers that are down there.
It's a flower?
Yes, it's a type of flower. See how they're listing flowers in a row?
Old man's looking glasses.
That tingling sensation is learning. It's okay. There's more coming.
I don't
For
have a tingling sensation.
For some of you, that tingling sensation is a loss of points. It's a completely different sensation. It might tingles a lot. Yeah, I don't doubt that at all. Then we introduce a bad thing into Caterpillar Town. And in our bad thing, Brady, what bad thing are we introducing into Caterpillar Town? Yes. You're going to use the poem.
Okay. They get eaten, maybe?
They do almost get eaten. Something comes that's going to arrive to do the eating. Jeremy, you were worried that maybe he was not paying attention on his iPad. No, he wouldn't make that choice. But go ahead.
Frog.
Frog. Why do you say a frog? Let's back up. They don't say the word frog. What do they say? They call it a...
Rook, slap,
Good job. Rook. They call it a rook. Now my question is, what is a rook? And you say?
frog.
Good job. And why do you say frog?
Because it says croaking and frogs croak.
Nice one. Good job. Finally using evidence in the poem that the rook is a frog. Absolutely wrong. But you used evidence, and I'm proud of you for that. The problem is we didn't use all the evidence because it says the rook does two things. Croaking is half of it. What's the other half, Jeremy?
Eats and swallows.
Getting closer. That's what the caterpillar does.
I know.
But you have the croaking down. We're partway there. Pharrell,
It's a bird.
what's the other thing that happens?
Flap.
So you say flapping. And so what do you say it is?
Oh, bird.
Why do you say a bird?
Because it flaps and it croaks.
The flapping and the croaking is correct. So
Oh,
in this
that was
case, a
rich.
rook is very similar to a raven or a crow because it has the flapping and the croaking. Mr. Brovicast, birds make pretty sounds. Most birds do. Rooks do not. Much like crows, they do the ah! Like, ah! That's the croaking, which is not a pretty sound whatsoever. Plus, frogs don't flap. Even if you take a frog, throw it in the air, that's not flapping, that's flailing. Completely different. Followed quickly by splatting. Also completely different. Now, back to our speaker in the poem. Fuller, who's our speaker in the poem? Caterpillar. Now most caterpillars who are smart, when the rook shows up, what will the caterpillars do?
Hi.
Nicely done. If you're a smart caterpillar, you run and hide, because if you don't run and hide, what's going to happen? And that would be bad. Our caterpillar, who is an action caterpillar, does not do that weakly. What does our action caterpillar do?
Eats.
Don't you take Weekly's answer. Have faith in Weekly. Yes, use the evidence in the poem. I can't hear you. Be brave. He what? He is nicely done. He eats the nom 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 nom. 2 stanzas down. How many stanzas left? 4. We will get through our. Hi, kids making interesting choice. 4 stanzas left to get through for tomorrow. Those of you, of course, standing means you volunteered.